welcome back to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I really appreciate you guys a whole lot for subscribing to Stylish Naija YouTube channel, for following me on all of my various social media handles. I appreciate you guys a whole lot. So if you are new to Stylish Naija YouTube channel, if this is the first time of you coming across my video, I would appreciate if you will hit on the subscribe button and then also hit the bell. So you see a bell on the side to get an update whenever I upload a new video. Okay guys, so I'm just so very excited. You know, whenever I come out with a new style to make, I am just so excited and eager to see the outcome of the dress that we're going to make. So guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to cut and sew this trendy ruched and drape bubu. Yeah, it's actually ruched, and then I'm going to show you how to do this in two ways. We're either going to ruche it, that's we're going to use passage a rope through it, or we're just going to drape it with we're going to stitch, like stitch drape it. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to try out our hands on two ways, and then we're going to know how to do this. So guys, let's just get started. So I have this soft fabric that I have here. It's like a chiffon fabric. This is 3 yards of fabric, so I'm going to be using the entire 3 yards of this fabric, also because it is it's a very long length. So the length is about 60 inches, so that's what we're going to do. So I will measure. So once I fold out my fabric, and then we'll measure it out, and then we'll continue. But it is 3 yards, so I'll use the entire length, both for the width, both for the across back. I'll use the entire length. So as I measure, I'll tell you the measurement. So let's just get started now. Let me fold out the fabric. Okay guys, so I folded my fabric into 4. So I just want you to see it. I folded it into equal 4 parts. So this is 1, 2, 3, and then 4 parts. We're going to cut the back and the front the same. So before I will continue, I'm using the entire length of the fabric, which is about 60 inches, and then the width for the across back measurement, I'm going to use, you know, I told you that I'm using 3 yards of fabric, so I'm going to use my entire fabric. So I'm going to measure now to tell you the exact measurement that I'm using for the sleeve. That's for the across back. That's what I mean by across back. That's from half of your back. That's from your back, the center of your back, to where you want the sleeve to get to. So what I actually have here is about 24.5 inches. So I'm going to use 24 inches. So that means half of our cross back measurement with our sleeve is 24 inches. So now I'm going to insert the measurement based on my folded fabric. So I'm going to include some lines now, and so that these lines will help guide us on how to cut out this bubu. Okay guys, so I have some basic lines on my fabric which I'm going to explain to you. Like I said, we're using the fabric to determine the measurement that we're using for this dress, because it is actually a free dress, so you can pattern it anyhow you want to. So this first line that I have here, this is my shoulder line, and then from the shoulder line I have my bust point line, which is 10 inches, and then from this bust point line I have this line. I'm going to use this line. I just extended by about 2 inches below my bust line. So this part is going to be where I'm going to create my sleeve opening. So I just extended by 2 inches. That's where I'm going to create my sleeve opening. And then the next line that I have here is 29 inches, which is my hip line measurement. So from my hip line, I extended about 5 inches. The essence of extending by 5 inches is just to enable me give my bubu a nice curve. So we're just going to start inserting our measurements now. So as I move along, I'm going to pull it up so you could see the down part. Okay, so now let's start inserting our measurement. The first measurement we're going to insert now is the across back measurement. So like I said I'm using 24 inches for it. So this is my 24 inches. So from the 24 inches from this point like this, I'm just going to mark 2 inches. I'm going to use that as my shoulder slope. So I'm going to slope so I'm just going to slope it down that way. The next measurement I'm going to insert now. So I'll use this point now. This is what I'm going to use for my sleeve opening, which is 11 inches. So the next measurement, what I'm just going to do from this point like this, I'm just going to like create, that's from this point like this, I'm just creating like a curve. So once I get to this point, I want the entire length of so this part also is going to be 24. So I'm going to come to my hip line now, and then I'm going to measure. I'm using 21 inches on this hip line point. So I'm just going to curve like this. So the extension that I added, I think 5 inches below. So from this 5 inches below, I'm just going to measure. Okay, let me just continue with what I'm doing. So from this point, I'm going to use 18 inches. The essence of the 18 inches is just to give the bubu a shape, even though it is a free bubu. So I'm just going to mark like this. So I'm just trying to create a curve. So I'm going to come to the down part, which is the hemline, and then you are going to determine how, you are going to ruche this bubu, so you have to check properly. So from this point like this, I'm just going to mark about 17 inches. So from this 17 inches, I'm just going to do this now. So you could see the shape of my bubu. So you can decide to go up. You can decide to do your curve from this point. Depends on what you want. So that's that. I'm going to cut out the side now, and then before we come. Okay, let me cut out the side. So you are going to put a notch here for you to know where your sleeve opening is going to be. So where the notch. So the next thing we're going to do, so you see our bubu, if you want it slimmer, you can still decide to curve, to do your curve, to deepen it more. So it depends on what you want. So for the neckline now, we're going to cut out the neckline. The front neckline is going to be a V, and then the back is going to be a round neckline. So I'm just going to take like this for the front neckline. I don't want it to be too wide, so I'm going to use about 4 inches. And then from this point like this, I'm going to the depth. So you determine how deep you actually want it. So I'll use 7 inches for the depth. And then I'm going to slant it to this point like this. So I just use my hands. And then for the back, I'll open it up like this. This is for the back. I'll measure the same 4 inches like this. And then I'll just make a round neckline of about 2.5 inches. So I'll cut out the back first. And then I would cut out the front. So I have my front piece. So the next thing I'm going to do now, for the front piece now, I'm going to create like a slit in the front. So you can decide to create it however you want to. So this is my front piece like this. I'm just going to open it up. So you choose how long you actually want the slit to be. So I want my slit to almost get to where my curve is. So I'm going to use 19 inches. So that 19 inches, here's just what I'm going to do. I want to make a curve like this. I want to make a curve like this. I want it to have like a curve like this. So the depth that I went in from this point, is about 3.5 inches. So just create like just a tiny curve. And then I'm going to cut it out here. Okay, so you see the curve in the front. So the next thing we're going to do now, we're going to okay guys, so before I continue, here's what we're going to do. So for the neckline, I'm going to go and hem the neckline. I'm just going to hem it, so I can decide to create out, you can decide to create out facing to do the neckline. This is the front piece we're working with now. I'm not touching the back piece yet. And then here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to create my casing. So for this, you can decide to do this to the ruched part. You can decide to do it in two ways. One, you can decide to create a casing. So you are just going to use a fabric, a long strap of fabric. So what I have here is about 2 inches. 2 inches, and then the width is 2 inches, and then the length. So I have about 40 inches of the length. So here's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to take it to my machine like this on the center point like this. That's the neckline point. I'm going to come down by 1 inch from the neckline point. Depends on where how much pull you actually want it to have. So I'm going to come down with about, okay, let me do 2 inches. Okay, let me just, yeah, 2 inches is okay. So I'm going to take this piece now, and then I'm going to place it here like this, up to this point like this where my slit is. I'm going to go and stitch it. So I'll show you how I'm going to stitch it. I'm going to stitch 3 lines here. The first line I'm going to stitch on the side like this to secure it, and then I'm going to stitch on this other side. I'm just going to use it to secure it, and then I'm going to stitch one on the center. So the essence of this stitching one on the center is for me to have 2 space here. So this one is just like a demarcation to have space in between. So this is where we're going to pass our rope through to pull this bubu together. That's one way for you to do this kind of bubu. The second way for you to do this bubu is you are going to use your smoking thread. That's smoking elastic thread. You are just going to take it to your machine, and then you are going to stitch a straight line. So as you are stitching, so I don't have the smoking thread right now, but as you are stitching it like this, as you are stitching it, it's going to pull upwards. That's as you stitch. I've done it before. As you stitch along like this, you are just going to stitch on a long straight line, and then that pulls the bubu together. And if you are going to do that, note the front piece of the bubu is going to be bigger. Sorry, that's the length of the front piece of the bubu. You are going to make it longer than the back piece, so it does not get truncated after, because once you have ruched it like this, it might get a little bit truncated more than the back piece. So that's just that. So I'm going to go and secure mine now, and then come back and show you how it will look like. And then I'm going to create long ropes that we're going to pass through. So for this, I think I'm going to use a bias to do that. So I finished stitching. So you see how it is looking now. So I'm just going to cut out all of my excess threads. So you see, you are going to use a matching thread, a very matching thread to stitch. So once you use a matching thread to stitch, it's not going to show on the side. So the next thing we're going to do now, we're going to join the front and the back piece together. So this is the back piece. So here is how we're going to join. So remember the notch that we made here on this part. So this is the notch. So we're going to join the shoulder from the shoulder line like this. We're going to join the shoulder line. So this is the shoulder. You join the shoulder line, and then this is the sleeve, the opening that we created. I'm going to leave this opening. I'm not going to stitch it. And then the side, so you see the side of my bubu. So from this point like this, now I'm just going to pull it so you'll be able to see it. So I'm going to join the shoulder. So I'll join the shoulder like this, and then I will leave this part, that's my sleeve opening, and then I'm going to stitch this part like this. I'm going to stitch it around. I'll stitch, and then until I get to the hemline like this. I'll stitch it till I get to the hemline, and then I'll do the same thing to the other side. So after stitching, I'll come back and show you how to pass the rope through it. So this is the rope that I'm going to use. So you can decide to use any rope. You can decide to use your fabric to sew a long strap and then pass it through. So it depends on what you actually want. So I'll just go and join it and then come back now. Okay guys, so I've finished stitching the side of my bubu. So you see the side. So the only part that is remaining now is my sleeve opening, just for me to turn my sleeve opening. So for the sleeve opening, if you want to put a band, I actually used about 13 inches for my sleeve opening, but if you want to put a band on it, you can decide to make it as much as about 15 inches, so you'll be able to gather this part and then put a round band on it. So but I'm not putting a band on this one. So I finished stitching the side like this. So I stitched it down to the hemline on this side, and then did the same thing on this other side also. So the next thing we're going to do now, we're going to pass our rope through. So I'm just going to use my pin like this. So what I'm going to do now is really simple and easy. I'm going to pass it. So this is the down. I'm going to start passing it from this side of the casing and then pass it through, and then it's going to come out from this point. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So that's the essence of stitching 3 lines. The essence is just to create a demarcation between the 2 parts. So once I get to this part like this, I will pull it and then I'll pass it through the next one. So and then I'll start bringing it downwards again. Okay guys, so I had to put it on the mannequin. So you see how it is looking at the end of the day. So you can decide to pull. The more you pull, so that was why I was actually telling you to make the front piece longer, with about between 5 to 6 inches than the back piece. So with that, once you pull it up, the more, because you could see, the more you pull, the more the drapes, they come alive. So you could see, so this is my slit here. So once you bring it down, so you see the drapes, they are reducing. So but when you pull up, as you pull up, so as you pull up, the drapes are being created. So once you increase the length of the front piece, you will be able to pull it however, and then the drapes will drape very well. It will be fuller, rather, let's just put it that way, it will be fuller. So at the end of the day, you just tie. Once you've gotten to where you actually want it to get to, you will tie it up. So you adjust it however you want to adjust it, so you could see how it is looking beautiful. So the side, you can decide to reduce the side, you can decide to increase it also. So this is the slit. So you just tie this, and then, so guys, like I said, if you don't want to use the rope, you can decide to use an elastic. You just use your smoking thread to do this, but I think I prefer this one. So with this, you can actually adjust it however. So thank you so much guys. If you find this video illustration helpful, please hit on the like button. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. So thank you so much. I'll see you in my next video. God bless you.